All right, got some big Georgia Bulldog recruiting scoop for you today. I confirmed a couple days ago that five-star offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell, one of the best players across the country, is planning a visit to Athens this spring. 6'8", 300-pounder out of Missouri. He's the number 2 overall prospect in the country for the 2026 class. He's the number 1 offensive tackle, number 1 player in Missouri. And he told me a couple days ago that Georgia will be one of the first visits he takes this spring. This kid is elite. He's a big Georgia target. And of course, Dawg Post members know all about this young man. I wrote about him a couple days ago, but I've been kind of covering his recruitment for a while now. Georgia offered him in late July of last year. They were able to get him on campus for a game day visit. So he was in Athens in early November to watch Georgia take down Missouri. He gave me a bunch of quotes that I'm going to talk about later in this video, but this is a big deal because elite offensive tackles don't just grow on trees. Now, there's a lot in the 2025 class that I'm going to be talking about, and Georgia did sign 6 of them in the 2024 class, but it shows you how much Georgia wants to get better on the offensive line. They've had some of the best offensive lines in college football over the last several years. And if they get a guy like Jackson Cantwell, who, I mean, it's going to be the future, right? This kid's not immediately going to play this year, and he's not going to be a senior. He's going to be a junior in high school. I know for a lot of you, that's really early on in the process. But if you're a starting offensive lineman at Georgia, you're not going anywhere. You're not hitting the portal. So this is not a guy who, will get to Georgia and sit on the bench for very long. If he does go to Georgia, which can happen down the road, this is a guy who's going to push for playing time immediately. But, this kid's a bruiser. He's got big size. Again, 6'8", 300 pounds. You can't teach that. He's lean. He's athletic, as if I can get those words out. He's an elite pass protector. He's a road grader in the run game, if I even said that correctly. Basically, the guy puts defenders on the ground. That's what he does. He's a pancake machine every play, over and over again. He's just bullying the guy in front of him. He's a big deal. He's the number 2 overall prospect in his class for a reason. But here's what he had to say. I was asking him if he's taking a visit to Georgia anytime soon. He said, I think Georgia will be one of the first places I'll visit during the spring. Here's what he said about Stacy Searles in the past, including his game day experience in Athens watching Georgia take down Missouri, which was not the best home environment, the home crowd. I've seen several, actually a lot of Sanford Stadium crowds who were better than that one when Missouri came to town, even though it was a massive game. He said, my favorite part was of the visit was getting to talk to all the staff again. The game was fun to watch, and it was fun to look at how Georgia plays football. The main thing that impressed me is how they are very big and imposing up front and how that can impact a game, especially in the run. So this kid, he's probably 15 years old going to this game last year, and he's already noticing what Stacy Searles and this Georgia offense is doing. He said, Coach Searles and I have a very good relationship. We talk a lot every time I come down, and I feel like he's helped me understand the offensive line and the Georgia program every time I talk to him. I think he's a good recruiter because he's a good guy and doesn't lie his way through any conversations. His wife is also very sweet too, and me and my family talked to her some after the game. So when you're meeting the coach's wife and the coach's family, you're a big deal. I can tell you, not every basic recruit gets to meet coach's family like that. Jackson Cantwell is a big deal. But he's in the 26 class, but it's clear that if you're watching this video and if you care about recruiting in any type of way, this is a young man out of Missouri that you need to keep an eye on. As for the 25 class, I expect Georgia to bring in another elite offensive line group, basically because it's loaded, especially in the Peach State. But it starts with David Sanders Jr., a guy that I've talked about for over a year now, and especially in one of my later videos, I guess a couple weeks ago. But he is an elite offensive lineman out of the Charlotte area, Providence Christian Day. I probably blew that. I probably blew that the name of that high school. Some of the out-of-states high school can get all jumbled in my head. I know the Peach State. I know Georgia as well as anyone out there. But David Sanders Jr., I saw him compete at the Under Armour camp in Carrollton last year. He's lean, he's long, he's athletic. He's a guy who's going to gain weight when he gets to college, as opposed to most guys who come in at 330, 340, 350, sometimes even heavier than that, who have to get to Georgia or wherever they sign and lose weight. David Sanders Jr. is an elite pass protector who can dominate in the run game, but his frame is going to allow him to get even better and add more weight. But he's a big deal, and some at Georgia think he's the #1 player in the country. He is #1 on Stacey Searles' board, but outside of that, he could probably stay in the state of Georgia in this 25 class. Josh Petty is just a massive, another lean guy. He's probably 275, maybe 280 after a big breakfast. He plays in Roswell at a Fellowship Christian. I saw him in early August, his first game of the 2023 season, playing on both sides of the ball, making play after play, 100-degree weather. I was sweating bullets, and this guy is just not leaving the field and making play after play. It was very impressive. His hands are like this big. He about broke my hand when I first met him at 16 years old. That's when I know a player is really good. If I meet you for the first time, you can't even drive a car, and I shake your hand and you almost break it. I'm keeping that in the memory bank. And when I do these rankings that you can read over on Dawg Post and Prep Red Zone, by the way, I take that into account. But Josh Petty is outstanding, might push for 5-star status. Georgia's in the mix with him. Juan Gaston Jr., he's a big boy now. He's like 6'6", almost 6'7", 330 pounds. One of the more athletic 330-pound prospects I've ever covered on the offense or defensive line. His dad was an absolute baller at Georgia Tech, but this is an extremely gifted and athletic lineman with size. I am higher on Juan Gaston Jr. out of Westlake High School, probably more than anyone else in the industry. So those are two Atlanta area, Fulton County offensive linemen who were two of the best in the country. Mason Short is a big kid out of Augusta, about 6'5", 6'6", 300 pounds, was committed to Alabama, backed off that. I think if Georgia wants him, they are the clear favorite to land him. And right now, I think he is towards the top of Stacey Searles' offensive line board. Dontrell Glover out of Langston Hughes. He's a big-time tackle. He was also committed to Alabama and opened things up. I know Georgia and Stacey Searles is high on him as well. So, you know, they don't have to leave the state of Georgia for offensive linemen in the 25 class. And if they get the best in the Peach State, or most of the best in the Peach State, and they go get David Sanders out of Charlotte, you're talking about another A-plus job. Now, again, they took 6 in 2024. The goal is to take 5 or 6 every year. So they took 6. We'll probably take another 5 in this 25 class. And then it's Jackson Cantwell and everyone else in the 26 class. But this is a young man who is an easy 5-star, one of the best prospects in the country, and has already taken a visit to Athens for a big game day, knows what it's like, knows what Athens feels like on a Saturday night, and already has a relationship with the Georgia staff, Stacey Searles. So he may be from Missouri, and that's a state that pumps out a lot of really good talent, especially now more than ever. Missouri is going to be in the mix. Ohio State is going to be in the mix. Michigan. Everyone is going to want this kid. But Georgia, from what I've gathered, is right there towards the top. And again, he told me, you know, when I take spring visits, not next week or in early February, like a lot of visits, you know, we're still going on. He said in the spring, when I do my visits, Georgia's going to be one of the first places I visit. So it would not surprise me at all if Georgia were to go up there and land this kid. He's a big, big deal. Again, you can't teach 6'8", 300+ pounds. Can't teach it. You can teach him how to play offensive tackle, and Stacey Searles can obviously do that. But you know, the point of this video is to tell you that there is another elite, possible future first-round NFL draft pick who is seriously looking at Georgia, and he's from out of state. Everyone knows Georgia builds a great offensive line each and every year. Every out-of-state offensive lineman who earns an offer, when I reach out to them, they're like, yeah, I mean, Georgia's offensive line is one of the best every year. You know, it's enticing. It's impressive what they're doing out there. And of course, I'm interested in Georgia. So no offensive lineman is not interested. Solomon Thomas is a big offensive tackle in the 25 class, committed to Florida State. And, you know, he told me recently, I'm not burning any bridges with Georgia. You know, I'm still open to them, even though I'm committed to Florida State. But that's another guy that they're going to continue to push for. And who knows, they might try to flip down the road. But Jackson Cantwell, one of the best prospects in the country. I don't care if he's a 2026 kid. He might be a 5-star if he reclassified to the 25 class. That's how good he is. And he looks to be in Athens for a spring visit. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. He's high on Georgia. Georgia's obviously high on him. And if you've been on Dawg Post, you already knew this. So if you're learning this for the first time in this video, you're a couple days late, but that's okay, because you can read everything we have over on Dawg Post. You can do that by signing up to our free newsletter. That link is down below in the description. It's free to sign up. It's free to read the free stories that we have on Dawg Post. So make sure you check us out. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you over on the website.